Hello, my Teaserking family. How's everybody? Happy Memorial Day. The pool was closing at 1:30 for the holiday, so I had to go first to the pool and now to the class. So quite a day I had yesterday. Just a second. Big freaking day yesterday. We started off 5 unit. We lost the Toronto game. Then we hit the 7 unit Boston, the 7 unit Seattle, the 10 unit Atlanta, the 5 unit Baltimore. Somehow we lose the 15 unit Philadelphia, which I still can't. The guy with the 190 ERA gives up 5 runs in the first 2 innings. Then we hit the 5 unit Cleveland, the 5 unit Houston. The Yankees lose. Go figure that. We hit the 10 unit Cubs under 8, and we lose the KC over 8 5 unit. And then we lose the 5 unit NBA game as Minnesota now goes down 3-0. And they can't handle Luca Brasi, I guess. So the bet was proper. Thought was proper. There's nothing you can do if they, now they're down 3-0. They've lost the series. So they had to win. All right. Let's look at our gold and silver, and we'll get right back to baseball. Gold, $23.52, up $18. Really no big drop as the U.S. are off for the holiday. And silver's back to $31.71, up $1.19. We'll talk more about that with this Greg guy who's got his head way up his ass. Anyway, let's go to baseball. I updated my stats yesterday. So we now have the new batting average and the bullpen ERAs and the teams. It's so convoluted. It's really hard to say a team's an A or a Z or an over and under because some parts fit and some parts don't. Let's see, big movements. Arizona's ERA went from 460 to 423. The batting averages aren't moving much. Moved from 242 to 244. A lot of them just move one. Any big batting average move? Let's see. I think there was one or two. Kansas City went from 242 to 253. The Dodgers went from 262 down to 255. Minnesota went from 240 to 233. The Yankees went from 249 to 257. Pitt went from 225 to 230. San Francisco went from 258 down to 250. St. Louis went from 222 to 235. Texas went from 253 down to 242. Tampa went from 244 to 236. Most of them maybe move one point because there's so many hits, there's so many people batting that it really doesn't matter. You're not going to get enough. I mean, unless you get extremely hot or extremely cold, you go from 240 to 241 or something. It's not really going to be a big move. So those are your big moves. The bullpen ERAs, let's look at that. So Arizona went from 460 to 423. Atlanta went from 320 to 335. Boston went from 352 to 331. The White Sox went from 383 to 404. The Cubbies went from 418 to 431. Cincinnati went from 418 to 381. Colorado, still the worst, went from 478 to 510. Detroit. Now, Detroit really sucked. They went from 310 to 410. That's incredible to move an actual whole run. But see, now when we analyze Detroit, now they're a 4.10 ERA, not a 3.10 ERA. Houston went from 397 to 373. A lot's probably because of Verlander coming back. This is really bullpen ERA, 7th, 8th, and 9th inning. So he pitched an 8-inning, a 2-hit shutout for 8 innings. That's going to lower this. The California went from 503 to 481. The Dodgers, 299. Miami, 464 to 447. Minnesota, 401 to 383. Milwaukee, 380 to 357. The Yankees went from 249 to 294. The Mets, 327 to 352. Oakland, 371 to 342. Philly, 432 to 405. Pittsburgh, 435 to 485. Seattle, 348 down to 307. San Diego, 394 to 356. St. Louis, 412 to 394. Texas State at 508. Tampa Bay, 426 to 452. Toronto's is 501. And Washington was 372 to 376. Not much movement. I'm still eating my General Chow from Saturday. I put my sloppy Joe in it that I had made Friday night. I stopped at the grocery store, and I got a couple of beef ribs, and the New York strips were on sale, so I got a couple of those. So the ribs are dinner for tonight, and the sirloin steaks will be dinner like Wednesday or Thursday. All right. So you can see we're still early in the year, how the bullpen ERAs switch. Really, it's after the 7th inning. Batting averages aren't really moving too much, as they shouldn't. Like I said, if you just keep doing what you're doing and you're a 240 average, you're still going to be 240. It's the 220 team that got really hot, or the 270 team that got really cold. So you're not seeing a big move in the average. And then the overall team, I have no idea. KC's 263 and 184. I call them an A team. But when I look at their ERA of 402, I'm not sure that's an A team. This is where the confusion comes in. The Dodgers are 270 and 201, an A team, 299 ERA, and a 2. So the Dodgers are probably one of the best teams. The Yankees, 266 and 174, with a 294 ERA and a 250. So the Yankees are an A team. That's where it fits all the categories. But then you got a team like the Philadelphia, 289, 196. That's an 18, 405 bullpen and a 260 batting average. I'm not sure what to do with the 289, 196 like I do in football. I know what to do with. And because they don't play the same amount of games, every team, although they're probably within one or two, it's very close. The Z teams are pretty, like Miami, 201 and 279, 447 ERA, and a 234 batting average. They fit, but they still win. Football, the Z teams, they don't win. I mean, Carolina, they win 2 games. The Lions, let's see, the Bears this year, Colorado in college. They don't win, right? They're terrible. However, in baseball, you play so many games, you end up probably, like Miami will probably end up 70 and 110. No, 70 and 99 or 90. 70 and 90 is 160. They still win 70 games, and they're still 20 games under. So they're still suck, but this is the problem with it. All right. So now you want today's games. And we're going to start in the NBA. We have, first of all, we lost yesterday, Minnesota. Dallas wins 116-107. We got Minnesota plus only 1.5, and they just never were competitive. But now they're down 3-0. You played it properly. Now they're down 3-0. Now it's a matchup thing. Can they even win a game? I don't know. Dallas might win. I can't bet Minnesota now. The game you needed to bet them was game 2 and game 3, and they didn't show up. So, again, kind of weak coaching there. It's such a weak league. All right, tonight, Boston and Indy. Boston leads 3-0. Now we won with Indy in game 3, getting 7.5. They lost by 3. Boston's also 7.5 again. What? Who's making this line? Are you out of your mind? So today, May 27th, NBA. You got to love Indy getting 7.5. And this will be 10 units. Okay, Indy went to overtime in game 1 in a 1-pointer in game 3. This is do or die. Boston's going to relax because they'll go home and win game 5. Indy, do or die. We've seen Indy when they needed it against New York, game 7, game 6, game 7 in New York. Indy will win this game by 20 points. I mean, this will be the typical backs against the wall. The team doesn't need it. Boston, they're just going to let it go. Boston's not that good. All right. Baseball. We got Baltimore 1-0 in the second, and then the games start. It's not a full slate. It's a half a slate. All right, so Baltimore 1-0 over Boston. So we get to the 2:10 game. It's 1:30. You got a half hour. Toronto against the White Sox. Toronto's minus 200 over under 9. Chris Bassett 4-6 with the 4.39 against Nick Nestorino. 0-3 with an 11.91. We're going to go over. We're going to go Toronto over 9. We'll make this 5 units. Now, a lot of it is the pitchers 11.91 and a 4.39. So both teams should hit. I know the White Sox don't hit much, but, when they're facing minor league pitching, they should still hit. And we need 9. I think we'll get 9. It's in Chicago. All right, so go over there. KC, Minnesota. KC's been playing very well, although they did lose yesterday. They'd won the other 2 games, 10-unit games for us. Actually, we didn't. We just had them over 8, and I think they got 7 runs or something. They just didn't get there. But we didn't stay on them. The one team that's hot is Colorado. They won 4 or 5 in a row. So KC, Minnesota. Minis are 175, 7.5. Alex Marsh for Kansas City, 4-1 with the 2.72 against Joe Ryan, 3-3 with the 3.15. I like Kansas City as a big dog here. KC, 5 units. You got a 4-1 with the 2.72. Joe Ryan's 3-3 with the 3.15. The over-under is only 7.5. I don't want to play that. Although it is an under game. But I think KC's a 175 dog with a 4-1, 2.72 pitcher. See, again, how do you not look at the pitcher's record and think and just ignore it, right? The Detroiters were saying that only because Reese Olson was 0-5. And they're trying to say, well, it's not really the record. So if Verlander's 10-0, is that the record? Then is the record important? So the record's important when it's convenient to be important. Here's our all statistics. I was looking at OPS to try to figure out what it is. It's the stupidest thing. It doesn't mean anything. It's kind of taken how many times the guy gets on pace and then his extra base hits, and you kind of divide it in. It doesn't mean anything. I mean, it's taking in walks, hit by pitches, and hits, and then by extra base hits. Why is that a big deal? Give me the guy's batting average. What's he hitting? I might need a hit. I got a guy on third. I don't need a walk. I don't care what his OPS is. And then it's trying to explain to you, well, the 800 OPS is really good and the 400 is really bad. I love when they try to use the stats, like the OPS is 600, like that's his batting average, right? Oh, he's got a 600 OPS, but his batting average is only 230. I mean, it's a very stupid stat. At the end of the day, give me his batting average, home runs, and RBIs, the things that matter. We're looking at scoring runs. All right. So we like KC, 5 units. The Cubbies in Milwaukee, good game. Cubbies are 105.8 in Milwaukee. Justin Steele, 0-2 with the 5.68. Robert Gasser, 2-0 with the 2.65. Go Milwaukee, beat the Navy, but I'm not going to bet it. But I do like Milwaukee here. I mean, it's 2.65 against the 5.68. Any way you want to look at it, I got to take Milwaukee here. Washington, Atlanta. Now, Atlanta I do have as one of the best teams, 30-20. But when I look at Atlanta, they're 232 and 185 runs versus runs, 335 ERA and a 250 batting average. They're a very strong team. They're minus 200 here. Mitchell Parker, 3-2 with a 3.32 against Charlie Morton, 3-1 with the 3.35. This is a toss-up. Both pitchers, I don't know what I'm getting here. Can I go over or under? I don't know. This is where one of the pitchers can pitch a shutout. Do I go under? Washington doesn't hit the ball. I don't know what to do with this. Charlie Morton, 3-1, 3.35, 3.32. They're pretty even. I'd say we're going to go under here, but I hate going under with Atlanta. So I'll go under with Washington. Washington under 8.5, and we'll play it for 5 units unless we find some better games. These are the games that get you these 3.32, 3.35 ERA pitchers, and all of a sudden here's a one-hitter. And I mean, how many – I'm looking – the guy's got a 5 ERA and he's throwing a one-hitter. And I'm like, it's in the 6th inning. I'm like, what the fuck? Where's this the rest of his season? All right, the Cardinals and the Reds. Lance Lynn, 2-2 with a 3.68. Nick Lodolo, 3-2 with a 3.34. Cincinnati's minus 145, 9.5 here. So now we got to go to the average and the bullpen. Cincinnati with a 3.81. I got weak bullpen written and a weak hitting 2.17. So they're an under, a W. St. Louis, 3.94 ERA and a 2.35. But I noticed in the Cup game, they got three or four hitters now that can hit. All of a sudden, I'm looking at the box score and going 268, 300, 305, 280. Like, where did this come? Major league hitting on a team. Just amazing. So I'd have to think it's an under. It's 9.5. It's the same as the other game, 3.68 against 3.34. And a 3.81 bullpen against a 3.9. So this shouldn't. That's a big number, 9.5. I don't know. I'm going to stay away from it, but I think it's an under. I'll mark it down under, but I won't play it. And I don't like the new Cardinal. The batting helmet said STL on it instead of the ST and NL scripted, where it's a much better look. STL, what the hell is that? Cleveland, Colorado. Cleveland minus 130 and 11 as we're in Colorado. Good God. Xavier Curry, 0-0 with the 1.93 against Austin Gumber, 1-2 with the 2.76. But let's pull behind the curtain. What the hell do I got? All right. The Xavier, good God. 5 innings, no runs, 4 innings, 2 runs. This guy's not going to give you much. A few innings. This is Cleveland's pitcher. So he's got a low ERA. He's pitched 2 games against Colorado's Austin Gumber. Now he has pitched. All right, he's pitched a lot. Okay, so he's had 2 bad games where he gave up 4 runs. Early it was 4-2-2-3. Lately it's he pitched a 5-hitter, 1 run, 8 innings against Oakland. He shut out San Diego in 6 innings and gave up 1 run to Texas in 6, and he shut out Pitt in 6, and then he gave up 4 to Houston. Overall, pretty good, and he's pitched 8-9 games. So Colorado's hot, so I like Colorado. I'll go 5 units on him. And Cleveland's a 130 favorite, and I can't explain why, because their pitcher has only pitched in 2 games. I mean, I think Colorado just swept Philadelphia. They're home. They're hot. This pitcher for Cleveland pitched 2 games. I'm not smelling what he's cooking, Rock. Oh, they just changed pitchers on us. Well, let's cancel that bet. It's funny. I saw it go blank, and then they just switched it to Anthony Molina. 0-0 with the 7.56. Well, there goes that bet. All right, scratch it. I guess probably I'd go over now. Colorado over 11. I'm not betting that. It was interesting because they are hot that they could win it, but I don't know about that. All right. Philadelphia, San Francisco. San Francisco is minus 120 over under 8. T1 Walker, 3-0 with the 5.06 against Blake Snell, 0-3 with an 11.40 ERA. We're going over Philly, over 8. And we're going to go 5 units. I'd rather do that than the Colorado game, especially when I don't know the pitcher. The Dodgers Mets has been postponed. So we go Philly over 8, 5 units. Miami, San Diego. The Dolphins at San Diego, at the Chargers. San Diego 185, 7.5. Trevor Rogers 1-6 with the 6-11 for Miami. Michael King 4-4 with the 4.28. I'm either taking San Diego and I'm going over with these ERA. I think I got to go over. Let's see, Miami Z team 201, 279. 4.47 ERA, 2.34 batting average. So San Diego's going to have a field day. San Diego is an over team. 248 to 210, I think. Yeah. 3.56 ERA, 2.55. So San Diego, gotta love San Diego here. We're going to go. Oh my God! I mean, but the over under. San Diego's going to win. I'm taking San Diego, 5 units. That game I like. And again, here's where you go. Trevor Rogers 1-6 with the 6-11. At what point do you think he's going to win? He's pitched 7. He's got 7 decisions. He's only won 1. Are you afraid he's going to beat you? Now he's got a 6.11 ERA, so he really sucks. Michael King 4-4 with a 4.28. Not great, but they got a better bullpen and they hit better. So overall, go San Diego, beat Miami. And last but not least, Houston, Seattle. We got Framber Valdez, 3-2 with the 4.32 against Bryce Miller for Seattle, 3-5 with the 3.53. Houston's a 130, 7.5. I have no idea. I don't really have the 1 or 2 pitcher going. So let's look at Houston. Houston is a 242.46, so they're even. They have an ERA of 3.73, and they hit. Wow, they're really hitting now. They're up to 2.62. Altuve must have woke up, and Bregman. The bullpen's getting better because of Verlander. So pretty fucking good team, Houston. Seattle, we've got Bryce Miller, 3.53 ERA, nothing great. 3.07. Wow, they came from 3.48 down to 3.07, and they're hitting a whopping 2.23. So they're an under team. Houston's pretty much an over team, right? They're just a good team. 3.73, 2.60. Houston should score. Yeah, I'm going to go Houston here, but I'm not playing it. Just the pick. Pick is Houston. All right, the Dodgers and the Mets are postponed. Bobby's probably at the game. Where the hell are you, Bobby? It's a holiday. You always come up on holidays. I hope Bobby's okay. I'm really worried that he's sick or something. It's not like him to be gone so long and not have any note to us. So let's go through the picks. We got Indy plus 7.5 in the NBA for 10 units tonight. Toronto over 9 for 5 in baseball. Kansas City for 5. Milwaukee, no play. Washington under 8.5, 5 units. St. Louis under 9.5, no play. Colorado over 11, no play. Philly over 8, 5 units. San Diego, 5 units. Houston, no play. Let me double check this Washington. I got it. The way I wrote the U, I don't know if it's over or under. It's under. Okay. Sometimes I close my U and it turns into an O. All right. So there's your baseball and your basketball. So Indy plus 7.5 in baskets, baseball, Toronto over 9, 5 unit, KC 5 unit, Washington under 8.5, 5 unit, Philly over 8, 5 unit, and San Diego 5 unit. So five baseball plays. Yesterday we did really strong, although we lost the Philadelphia game. Our guy with the 9-1 with a 1.53 ERA gives up 5 runs in the first 2 innings. And that happens. And again, it's an average. All right, so that's that. we checked the gold price. So let's go here. So I was watching this silver squeeze. I don't really like this Craig Hemke guy. And I really don't like what he said.
Go to the CME website. You see all this for yourself.
Well, I don't know where it is. I'm not going to hunt. So he does this thing on silver squeeze. When he makes this comment that offends me, he says, people think the price is just going to go up. But the price doesn't just go up. It goes up and down and up and down. Let me see if I can read it in the transcript. And my point was, if we didn't have the paper gold derivative, it wouldn't go down. So I've been very clear saying like when silver broke 31, well, I didn't, because I knew it was paper. But if gold was physical, and I told you I didn't think gold would drop, if it was physical, it wouldn't drop because there's no profit taking. They're selling. Nobody's selling their gold. Nobody's profit taking. So in that type of scenario, gold would just keep going up if we didn't have the paper derivatives pushing the price down. And that's what I was. And I didn't like how he said, well, no, it always goes back down. Yeah, because it's comex. They're doing it because they're in the derivatives and they're going to get killed unless they push the price down so they can get out of their derivative that they got into. In a normal market, if Mahomes goes from 500 to 1,000, it doesn't come down. It goes up. It then goes from 1,000 to 1,500. Nobody's buying this card. So you bought it for $750. You sold it. You got 1,000 for it. Why would it go back to $750? Now the market's set. The market price is $1,000. This isn't going down. If anything, it's going to go to $1,250 or $13, or maybe it stays at 1,000. But why would it go back to $750? Nobody's profit taking. This is the problem with these guys. They don't really know what they're talking about. And they're insulting when they try to make it sound like they know what they're talking about. Let's see. Okay, here it is, 601. All right, Hemke.
I've been doing this for a long time now. I'm like considered like the old fart, I'm like the old wise maiden.
You're an idiot.
But there are a lot of newer people to this game. How this works that I see on X, and they all say, "Oh yeah, once we get through 30, silver's going right to 50." And I'm like, yeah, no, it doesn't work that way. Or once gold gets through 2,300, it's going to 3,000. It doesn't work that way.
It does if it's physical.
2 steps forward, 1 step back. And that's what we're...
Okay, so this guy just showed he's an idiot because that's not the way it works in a physical market. It's the way it works in a price fixed paper market. That is the way it works, but not in a physical. as I just said, in the physical market, in a physical market, this card goes to 2,500 to 3,000. It doesn't go back. It doesn't go 2,000 to 2,500 back to 2,000. That's only in a price fixed market with derivatives shorting it. In a real market, in a free market where there's no price fixing, this card goes from 2,000 to 2,500 to 3,000. That's what would happen. It would not pull back. There's no reason. You don't have profit taking in this. If I buy this card for 2,500, why the fuck would I sell it for 22? The next sell, then on my auction, it's selling for 3,000. And as people see it's 2,500, it's going to go up. That's how a normal market works. People see what it goes through, it goes up. So it's very insulting what he just said, because it just shows he doesn't know what he's talking about. This is not a stock, and it's price fixed. So basically, he's clueless. So that's why I very rarely watch these guys, because they really, when they talk like this, they really show they don't know what they're talking about. So a lot of this stuff I've been watching, it really has, it's hard to watch. Probably the best thing was Triple H versus Brock Lesnar. I was watching that. That probably made the most sense. China's selling U.S. bonds. What does that mean? It means they don't want them. They're dumping them. BRICS Financial Forum today. BRICS to launch. So I listened to this. BRICS to launch currency, but he doesn't talk about gold. He just says digital currency. It's digital currency. Well, yeah, but it's gold back. He doesn't explain it's gold back. He just says they're launching digital. Well, we know they're launching digital. They're also launching paper. It's also gold back, which he forgets to say. So you got to be careful who you're listening to. Is BRICS the secret weapon to dethrone the U.S. dollar? Well, it isn't a secret weapon. How China will kill the dollar. First of all, it's not China. It's not the yuan. It's the gold-backed BRICS currency. When it competes with the dollar can't compete with the BRICS currency. It's as simple as that. So anyway, I'm having trouble watching these because after about 30 seconds, it's like, yeah, we already know that. I'm not learning anything new. So I don't need to we already know that, right? I already know 2 and 2 is 4. I don't really need to listen to 2 and 2 being 4 again. We already know BRICS central bank's going gold back. It's happening soon. And that's it. That's where we're at. So we know that's happening. So I don't need to hear it again from some idiot who doesn't know that. And then here at 94, Robert Wagner finally admits about Natalie. He never admits the whole thing. He doesn't say I killed her. He doesn't say anything. Unbelievable. So you got to be careful about these titles. They're very misleading. They make you watch it. Oh, did he really kill her? And then he does it, and you've wasted a half hour watching it. So I'm getting really hard to watch these things. Anyway, so there's not much new going on as far as YouTube. There was an alligator one I watched yesterday, but I didn't learn anything. I mean, alligator goes on these shows, says the exact same thing, and then tries to sell his Substack. How can we get a hold of you? Oh, on the Substack, that's $25 or whatever. And the ironic part is, people who are buying his subscriptions are doing it with stolen credit cards, which means he doesn't keep the money because the card's stolen, so nobody's paying. That's how he knows they're stolen. I don't have too much problem on Teaserking. Normally it's the guy buys it and then I know him anyway. Like Nick buys, I know he bought, and off we go. So with that being said, let's talk some economics here. I gotta wait next week till the guy to come back from Europe. Let's talk stoic. All right. Being psychic as I am, I'm like, where's Daria? And again, 3-4 days I don't hear from her, and I'm getting really sick and tired of it. And I go, what's going on? And the answer I got was she's just working 12-hour days, and she gets up, goes to work, works 12 hours, isn't supposed to use the phone at work. She comes home. I don't know if she has access to the internet. I think she takes the subway or a bus, and then she gets home, probably eats a little and goes to sleep. And I can't figure out that she doesn't contact me. And that's where I struggle, because I know the answer is it's 12-hour days and she's at work. She's not out fucking around. She's at work 12-hour days. And so I didn't talk to her today. I just sent her my picture here. And I'm frustrated with it because it's happening a lot, but it's because she's working. I don't think she wants to ask me for money anymore. I think in the beginning, it's kind of a scam. Oh, I'll see if you can give me $100. Then as you do it, and then as we get closer and more real, the Russian girl, it's convoluted, because if you date a Russian girl, you're supposed to pay for things. And I get that. However, the Russian girl normally won't ask you for anything. That's how you know it's real. They won't ask you for money. But once you're her boyfriend, then you're supposed to pay. So I don't know. Last time we talked for a half hour, about a week ago, and then she didn't ask me for money. And then I said, well, are you okay? Do you have enough money for food? She said, well, I could use some. So she didn't ask me. I kind of, put 2 and 2 together going, are you okay with money? So I think what she's trying to do is work a lot to make more money to not ask me as much. We're still waiting for the mother to come to Russia to watch the daughter so we can go to Serbia. And we're waiting on that. And I did tell her about the job, and she was all excited about the interview going well. So I don't know, but it's the strangest thing. Jenna, I text every day, but she doesn't work. And we've met 6 times. So once me and Daria meet, everything will be fine. But I don't know why I'm so frustrated by it, where if I don't hear from her, because there's other girls that I don't hear from, and I'm like, no problem. I don't care. So again, trying to stay stoic. So I said goodnight last night. I haven't said anything this morning except a picture of class. And that was it. So we'll see, but I haven't heard from her. And it's now 7 hours. It's 9 o'clock at night. And last time she was on was 1:30. So I had sent her the picture at 1:24 and she was on at 1:26. So, but nothing's turning blue on mine. So it's really confusing. Unless it doesn't always, I don't know. She must have seen me. See, what you get is this summary sheet. So you get this summary sheet. So it shows you who's texted you. So she sees that I've texted her, but if you don't go in, you don't really see the thing. Anyway, that's where I'm kind of really, but every time I do this, and then she texts me and she says, "Oh, sorry, I was working." She's never out screwing around. She's just working. And it's 12-hour days in Russia. So I got to be stoic on it. That's our stoic lesson. I sent my thank yous for the job to the VP and the CFO. I'm waiting for the hiring manager to come back from Europe on the 3rd, and then I'll interview probably the 5th or 6th, and start. Hopefully everything goes well and start right after that. But it will be remote, so I need a computer. I need to take a drug test and a background check, which is never a big deal for me. And hopefully I'll get the job. I still want to teach the economics, and I'm trying to figure out what to do with football. I might do it as a class, $50. You get the games for the weekend, like I go through, like I do in baseball here. Or just say, okay, here's the game of the week. And if you want the rest of my picks, go to the site and you get to pay for them. Because I gave a lot of free ones last year, but I'm not going to do it this year. So we'll see. So if you want them, you got to pay for them. We'll see. But anyway, that's where I stand. So again, so many people don't understand inflation. It's not prices, it's money supply. It just blows my mind how stupid people are. Or I'm hearing wage inflation. What's wage inflation? The wages are going up. Is inflation? Since when? It's not. It's the money is worth less, but I'm not getting paid more at this new job. I'm getting paid about what I got paid at Mercedes. So what kind of wage inflation? There's no such thing. How do you inflate wages? You don't print wages, so there is no wage inflation. There's no price inflation. Those are the effects of the money losing its value, but they're not inflation or deflation where prices go down. It's not deflation. It's prices going down in the market. I just got New York strip for dinner. I got two. They were like, both of them combined were £1, and they were on sale for $12.99. Is that deflation? No. It's they can't sell them at $20, so they lower the price. It's not deflation. There's no such thing. It's the market saying, I don't want it for $20, but I will give you $12 for it. That's how the market works. That's Say's law. You demand steak and they get, no, it's too expensive. And then when at the right price it comes down, that's what you buy it for. So let's see what we can talk about here. Where were we at? We're at something interesting. We did economic history. Adam Smith, we talked about communist revolution, the number one powers, Continental Congress. Let's see. Yeah, we talked about the Civil War. Classical liberalism. I think I stopped right at Here we go. J.P. Morgan, responsible for the U.S. into the war, 1914 recession crash, uh, was chief supplier to both sides in the war. Attaboy, J.P. Morgan. Morgan owned 25 newspapers, so he is very good at that bullshit. Morgan buys all war material for France and England. Gold influx from England and France. Securities are also used to buy war materials. Morgan liquidates Britain, sells stocks, private loans through Morgan. So Morgan's a real son of a bitch. He likes monopolies. He obviously is very afraid of competition. Woodrow Wilson put us into World War I. U.S. and England side. U.S. tricked into war. How can you get tricked into a war? All right. Well, we went through a lot of that. The crash in Germany, 1924 to 1928. House of Cards, built on free credit. This is why they had the hyperinflation. New era, government ability to interfere in the economy. No more fear of recession or depression because of the Fed. New Deal 1924, government intervention. Deliberate move for inflation by bank credit expansion. Age of intervention. Increase in the money supply 1924, 1927, 1922 to save Britain. Boom in the stock prices from 1927 to 1929. And we all know what happened in 1929. Here we go. Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act. So Nick asked me what caused the Great Depression. I told him the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act. Tariff is a tax on goods coming into the country. So like China, if they wanted to sell us electric cars, we're putting a tariff on it, add $1,000 in tax on it. Handout, trade implosion, causes of the Great Depression. 1929 stock market crash. November to April 1930, market regained 2/3 of its losses. So why is there a Great Depression? The market crashed in 29. By April of 30, it is now regained 2/3 of its losses. Why is there a depression? Then the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act causes. So the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act to save the stock market happened after the stock market regained 2/3 of its losses in April 1930. What the fuck is going on? Germany and Japan needed world trade. Japan, zero economic resources, must input everything. And the same thing with Germany. Some economic resources must import. So that's the problem with Germany and Japan is they don't have the raw material like Russia. They have all the iron ore, copper, gold, silver. Australia's got a lot of iron ore, but Germany and Japan don't have bupkis. Tariffs hurt them the most because it costs them more to get the goods. The war party comes to power in Japan, and we all know Hitler in Germany. So the Great Depression leads to all this war power coming into these countries, causing the war. When you got a Hitler, you're going to war. When you got whoever in Japan, Mr. Fuji or something, you're going to get war. Lithography. Hitler, Germany should stand alone. Hit was a real nut, as we know. Smoot-Hawley, number one of major reasons for World War II. It hurt agriculture industry. They cannot export. Then a glut and prices go down in the U.S. 30% of banking disappears. 1929, 1930, agricultural banks. So back then you had manufacturing banks, agriculture banks. They're all regional banks. So the ones, obviously, if there's a glut in food and you can't sell your corn, but you borrowed money to plant it. So you're a farmer, and so you're going to go plant your crops. So you take out a loan to buy all the crops, and then you got to put them in, and then you water every day. And then when they grow, you cut them down and take them to market. And then you hopefully make enough so you can pay the loan back that you took from the bank to get all the seeds and all the watering and all the cutting. 30% of banking disappears. New era, more depressions or recessions. The Fed will print some money. Here we go again. Way to go, Fed. You fuck us up every time. Commercial banks, short-term notes, stay liquid, save. Long-term banks failed. The Hoover program. This will be interesting. Hoover, New Deal, 1929, 1930. Guess what he does is he raises tariffs, which is taxes, government spending, reflate the economy. So he's inflating, he's printing, he raises taxes and tariffs, keep wages up, unemployment. Basically, he's fucked everybody, right? Bank of the U.S. crashes, specialized in home equity loans. Nobody's working; they can't afford their mortgage. Sounds like 2008 happening again, huh? There you go. Funny how history keeps repeating itself, and these people are too stupid to understand it. 1931, bottom out. Depression went worldwide, which is about what's going to happen here, except for the BRICS will have a gold-backed currency, won't need the dollar. So they're seeing the depression coming, and they're doing what we're doing what they're doing. What are we doing? We're smart enough to get out of the dollar before it crashes, and we're buying gold and silver. And that's what BRICS is doing. They're all getting out of the dollar and getting gold because they can see the Titanic is sinking as we see it. So they're all getting into gold. BRICS is as fast as they can going to a gold standard, gold-backed currency. Everybody wants to join BRICS rather than sink to the bottom of the ocean. 1931, bottom out. Depression went worldwide. Austria, Germany, no credit, can't export, can't pay off debt. 1933, Hitler comes to power. 1931, Britain goes off of gold. What are they thinking? Gold exchange standard, use gold and gold-backed currencies. France and the Netherlands gets hurt, causes a depression as price of gold drops when Britain goes off of gold. I'm not sure why it would drop. Maybe less demand, I don't know. And they probably didn't have comex back then. 1932, U.S. goes off of gold. Reflation, tried to inflate, didn't pass. Agreement in France to let Germany out of their war debts. Both parties got conservative Democrats and Republicans. So Germany had to pay from World War I all the war debts. That's why they inflated, and that's why they had the money went worthless in 1923 because they keep inflating to pay the war debt off, but then it makes all their money worthless, which is basically what happened. And I'm not sure why Germany had to pay the debt. There was no apparent winner or loser in World War I. And certainly Germany wouldn't be the one to, it wasn't just them. It was Russia that really caused the problem. Agreement in France to let Germany out of their war debts helped Germany start with their army, right? Now they can build airplanes and tanks. They started growing their army, and they weren't supposed to. Hitler was a bad boy. The problem was France and England, all they had to do was show up and they would have shut it down. They don't do anything. France is misled by one of the elitists, one of these dukes or whatever, who told Germany how to attack France. And they said, come up that little forest. They don't have any defense there. And they came up and they went all the way to the coast in 5 minutes, which is what that movie was about, Norbert or whatever. They told them that. So Germany knew the weak spot. I don't know who it was. One of the One of the Brit elitists, the Duke or a Jack or a Tenor, something like that, whatever you call them, the Duke of Earl or whatever. Um, Democratic Party platform: free trade, gold standard, cut government spending, reduce taxes, deregulate. However, that's what FDR runs on. However, they never implement their policies. He lies about everything. FDR 1932, March 4th, 1933, he takes office. He takes us off the gold standard and raises taxes. What a guy. And everybody, for some reason, loves FDR. He was the worst president there was. How do you take us off of a gold standard and then you raise taxes on top of it? What are you thinking? You're in a depression because of the fucking tariffs, the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act. Okay. And then as countries have to pay for World War I, they all start going broke because you can't just pay for the war. You have to inflate to pay for the war. So here comes FDR. Now the famous bank holiday, open only solvent banks, and anytime you get a bank holiday, you know you're fucked. FDR starts the New Deal, Chapter 41. The platform: free trade, gold standard, cut government spending, reduce taxes, deregulation. So they got the playbook, but the New Deal is no free trade. He outlaws the gold standard, raises government spending, raises taxes, and regulates. Did just the opposite of the platform. So the New Deal should have been good. He gets elected, basically lying through his teeth, and then does the opposite. Does this sound like what? Obama, Clinton, uh, the idiot we got now, Biden? I mean, is this, and it never works, right? We're in a depression that should have never been, right? 1930, three-quarters of the stock market had come back. Why are we doing all this if we're basically back? Just let them see. In our world of Austrian economics, in Say's Law and Adam Smith, everything fixes itself. Leave it alone and everything comes back. No, we got to fuck around with the tariff that makes it more expensive for the farming stuff, and it causes bank crashes, and it causes they can't sell their wheats and the price goes down on the corn and everything. Germany and Japan can't buy our shit because of the tariff. You fucked everything up with this stupid stuff. If you would have just leave it alone, Adam Smith, you would be fine. We would never have a problem if we would stick to Austrian economics and a gold standard and keep the taxes low and free trade. We would never, ever have a problem. You'd never have inflation. You'd never have a depression. Nothing would happen. But no, the government has to interfere because JP Morgan needs to be able to print money and go to war and print money and sell. He wants to sell the tanks and the planes and the weapons to both sides. This is his vision of making money. Unbelievable. And he's still doing it now. He's probably selling weapons to Russia and the Ukraine right now. 1933, London Economic Conference. Restored trade, sound money. U.S. won't do either one. Conference blows up. This causes World War II. If they would have had in 1933 the London Economic Conference, it would have restored free trade and gold standard, sound money. If they'd have done it, no World War II. But U.S. won't do either one. Conference blows up. Does that sound like what we're doing now in the Ukraine? We won't settle the war. We want to keep selling weapons and sending $800 billion to the Ukraine, AKA back to the defense contractors. It's unbelievable. This is the problem with central banks. This is the problem you get off the gold standard. If you're on the gold standard and you kept the free trade, you wouldn't have had World War II and you wouldn't have killed 600 million people? All of Europe, basically. All could have been avoided. Unfucking believable. FDR is a great salesman, no substance. Sounds like Biden. Sounds like Obama. Sounds like Trump. Sounds like all these assholes. Why Germany and Japan went to war. Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act, London Economic Conference failure. That was what I just told you. 1933 was the London Economic Conference. They wanted to restore free trade and go back on the gold standard, and the U.S. wouldn't allow it because then J.P. Morgan couldn't have printed money if we're on the gold standard. So that's what ended up happening. And then, Japan had to go to war, if you listen to The Godfather, because of the oil embargo. And Hitler was a nut. So Hitler gets to power. I don't think Germany wanted to go to war. They were broke from World War I, and I don't think they wanted to go to war. And as Hitler starts taking them to war, they're like, who is this guy? Get him the hell out. But then you had gun control, you had martial law, you had a tyrant in running the country. You had, what do you call it? 7 o'clock, you got to be inside. I want to say conference, but I know that's not right. Basically, you had a curfew. That's what I want to say. Curfew, gun control. So they knew they could walk into your house and take everything. This is the misconception of gun control that people don't get. Gun control is bad because the bad guys will get the guns and the good guys won't be able to have. You won't be able to defend yourself. So everybody's worried that somebody got shot at a school. Well, that's not nothing to do with gun control. That's some idiot who got a gun who used it for the wrong reason. Should you not have cars because people die in car accidents? So so the Nazis go into your house because they know you don't have a gun to defend yourself. So the SS comes in and takes all your gold, takes you to the train station, and you're off to the concentration camp because they know you don't have a gun. But if you had a gun to protect yourself, they couldn't have done all that. And all these people wouldn't have went to concentration camps. This is why gun control is bad, but people don't see the whole picture. All they see is some bad guy because he used a gun killing people. Well, he could have used a knife. He could have used a bow and arrow. The gun simpler, but the problem isn't don't get rid of the gun. I mean, that's not the answer. It's arm the other people. So if there's a police in the school or some security with a gun, you wouldn't have all this stuff because you'd go to take the gun out and there'd be competition. There'd be somebody with a gun and then I'm not going to shoot if I know somebody's got a gun. But if I know nobody has a gun, I feel pretty comfortable that I have the gun and you don't. I think I'll probably win 90 times out of 90. That's the problem with gun control. So the Nazis have it, and they know they can walk into your house and steal your gold and force you to the concentration camps, and you can't do shit. Or unless you're Anne Frank and you hide in a cupboard under the stairs with Harry Potter, that's basically it. And she still got found out, Anne Frank, somehow. All right. So that's why Germany and Japan, because of the Tariff Act, which is a tax increase, and the London Economic Conference was free trade and gold, but the U.S. said no, we don't want that. We'd rather have war so we can make money. We can get out of our depression. I'm sure that's what these wars are right now. The Ukraine and Israel war are distractions. You're looking at the war, not the inflation and the depression we're going through, right? So they don't even let you know you're in a recession. People ask me, are we in a recession? We've been in a recession for 2 or 3 years now. But they won't tell you that we're in a recession. Anytime costs go up, you're in a recession because the economy slows down. You don't need massive unemployment to be in a recession. It's just prices go up, you buy less. That's all it is. So that's what you have now. The war in the Ukraine is the distraction. You're looking at Zelensky and it's Putin's fault and this and that and that. So you're not looking at the recession, depression we're having, the dollar going out. They won't tell you about bricks and the gold standard, that's exactly what they're doing. That's why we're buying gold, and that the dollar's is worthless because you printed 150 trillion of them. They can't be worth anything. So all these things are sugar coated by the Ukraine war. Branch banking versus unit banking. Canada and England did branch banking. Banks can diversify portfolios, strong parts help the weak parts. So you can be all over. So in Canada, they can be in Toronto and Vancouver and Calgary and Edmonton. So part of it is the farms and part of it's the cities. And it's okay. In the US, they do unit banking. Each bank stands on its own. If you're only in agriculture and agriculture goes south, the bank goes south. This caused bank failures. So that's what unit banking is. You're in the unit. So if you're in whatever sector you're in, if it goes bad, you're screwed. All right. Next, basic monetary policy. To get out of the depression, reflation, basic monetary policy to get out of the depression, inflation, this did not work. So that was their assumption. Well, we'll inflate the monies. We'll print money to get out of the depression. Doesn't work. Lower the value of gold, 1/35 of an ounce. This does not work. Fiscal policy, spending of the government, Keynesian economics, spending creates wealth and savings, too much savings. This doesn't work. See, again, the Keynesians they think if the government spends, so we'll build roads. I think they build the Hoover Dam in Vegas. If we do all that, that'll get us out of the recession and the depression. No, the only thing that it does is Adam Smith. We work, economic productivity booms is the only way the economy grows healthy. Bunch of idiots. 7/14/93, a very big date here. Keynes was brought in by FDR. Depression caused by underconsumption was his thing. So FDR brings in the stupidest economist he could find in Keynes. Unbelievable. That's why we're in it. So it really worked. We're in a depression for 10 years because of Keynes. And then what are we doing now? Everybody's using Keynesian or MMT to go back into depression. So we don't learn that it didn't work already for some reason. I don't know why we get off gold. We get off of free trade. It always works, but they can't print money, and they're all a bunch of scumbags in the government who want to print free money. They want to steal from us. They want to make our dollars worthless. So if we're holding 100 grand, we're really only holding 10 grand. So they're stealing from us. This is the government. This is the whole system. I still like my way where you have a playbook and you can't change. In other words, you must be on the gold standard. Nobody can change it. You must have free trade. Nobody can change it. You must have low taxes. Nobody can change it. Just like football. It's four downs and 10 yards, and a touchdown's worth 6 points, and you get an extra point, and you got 4 downs to make the 10 yards, and that can't change. But yet that's what we're doing in government, right? We're saying, well, you know what? Let's get off of the gold standard and, let's raise taxes and no, we got to put tariffs in instead of free trade. And it's not even the same game that we signed up for. The Constitution is not being looked at. The laws are changing. You got idiots running and all this lobbyists paying off. So the lobbyists are paying the refs. This is how the lobbyists work in football. They pay the ref to not call holding or not call pass interference. That's the lobbyist, right? So he goes to the ref. Here, don't call pass interference on there. Here you go. Come on, put it in your pocket. That's basically what you have is the lobbyists are interfering with the refs. We interfere with the Congress and the Senate, and they do what the lobbyists said instead of what's in the Constitution, and they're running without being crooked, and they're all crooked. And it's disgusting, and it needs to be blown up. Some guy outside of the pool has, I guess he wants to get something on the ballot or something, and He goes to the wrong person because he comes to me when I'm walking in and I go, blow it up. If you're going to blow it up, I'll sign whatever. If you're not going to blow it up, you ain't changing shit. So if you can blow up the government and come back to the gold standard and free trade and low taxes and get rid of the fucking Federal Reserve, then I'll listen. So I left him with go back on the gold standard, and if you want to save the country, go back on the gold standard. Otherwise, we're all fucked. All right. Depression caused by underconsumption, fiscal policy, consumption, output, savings, produced more than consumed, tax the rich, 1936 tax and spending spree by the government, the New Deal, heavy progressive income taxes, high inheritance tax, excess profit tax. So the government wants your money. This is Keynes, which is happening now. They want to tax you. So everything you make, they want to take from you. And this is the problem with it. But the answer to what they're looking for is to let us keep our money. And that will grow the economy out of the depression. But for some reason, the government wants to take our money because they think the government must spend the money to get out of the depression. It's us. Don't tax us at all, and we would be out of a depression in a year. Because we buy better than the government does. Because I just went and got a steak because it was on sale. If the government went to buy the steak, they wouldn't have bought. They wouldn't have bought the New York strip because it was on sale for $12. They would have bought something else at $30 because they don't care. It's not their money. So the New Deal, heavy progressive income tax, inheritance tax, excess profit tax, the economy drops, major recession, 1937 to 1940. I thought we were in a fucking depression. New Deals end in 1938. Keynes, protectionist, worried about unemployment, wages are rigid downward, monopolies, tariffs, unions. Monetary, increased demand. This doesn't work. Monetary policies, fiscal policies, inflation. Fiscal policies stimulate the economy. Government spending disagrees with, say, law. So that's the inflationary. Stimulating money by government spending and printing money doesn't work. So what Keynes tries, increased demand. He is worried about unemployment. Wages are rigid downward. Well, because you have less money, you're getting less sales, so you're not making as much because the government's taking everybody's money. So me and you aren't going to buy tennis rackets from Luke. So inflation never works, and there's no cure except for gold. All right, a little bit confusing there, but that's Keynes for you. World War II, Japan, big issue was Manchuria, 1920s. China, they have natural resources, economic colony of Japan. 1917, Kuomintang, communist, Mao Zedong makes Manchuria communist, and we all know communism doesn't work because there's no free market. It's government controlling the market, which never works, never has worked, never will work. 1931, Japan invades Manchuria to stop Mao and stop communism and protect investments. How the hell did Japan go on Germany's side then if they are against communism? Well, Hitler was against communism too, but he brought fascism and a totalitarian state and a dictator as his way of not going into communism. Bad fellow Stimson, Secretary of State under Hoover. He's a U.S. guy. He wants to stop the Japs from doing this. Then he goes to FDR and he appoints him the Secretary of State, and he's a warmonger. Sounds familiar. He wants war. He gets us into the war. 1940, FDR declares an economic embargo on Japan. This causes Pearl Harbor. So when you do this, Pearl Harbor's coming. So this causes Japan. So we're doing an economic embargo on Japan. So they couldn't get their oil. So they're fucked. July 1941, oil and steel embargo on Japan. FDR won't negotiate. He pushes Japan into World War II. November 26, 1941, Japan goes to war against the U.S. So why would we be surprised by Pearl Harbor December 7th, a couple of weeks after? FDR knows Pearl Harbor will happen. Great president. He doesn't tell anybody in Hawaii, so all these people die, and he knows it. What a schmuck. He knows the Japanese are going to invade. FDR deliberately didn't tell them. This is a fucking president. How did this guy get elected 4 times? He's a good speaker, but he's a lousy president, the lousy leader, and should never have been elected at all. 19, but what kills me is everybody loves FDR. But I can't figure out why. He put us in a depression, does oil embargoes, gets us into World War II, fucks the Japanese and the Germans over. But yet he's a great president. What did he do? Build roads and built the Hoover Dam? I mean, oh my God. He knows the Japanese are coming to invade. Deliberately, he doesn't tell anybody in Hawaii. Are you fucking kidding me? And we all love FDR. I mean, wow. 1943, Japan approaches the Pope. FDR won't negotiate. 1944, Japan approaches Sweden. FDR won't negotiate. 1945, Japan approaches Stalin. FDR won't negotiate. Great negotiators, FDR guy. Japan went to war due to the oil embargo on July 1941. All these people die in Japan in 1945, and 2 nuclear bombs are dropped because of an oil embargo that should never have fucking happened. What is FDR? This guy is the biggest loser I've ever seen in my life. And so it shows you that any idiot can be a president. That's why you can only have a commissioner who cannot make these decisions because they're not qualified. You think Biden's qualified to be president and run a country? He couldn't run a Burger King. Are you kidding me? And you can't fuck with the rules. It's gold standard, free trade, low taxes, and a constitution with rules in it and laws, and a small army. That's the game. You can't come into football and say, you know what, we're gonna go. It's gonna be not 10 yards. It's gonna be 15 yards, and we're gonna make 3 downs instead of 4, and we'll have a 55-yard field like the Canadians, and that's the problem. This is the rule book that you must rule, and the commissioner comes in, and that's the book. And that's what should be happening. It's called the Constitution. You got to be on gold. There should be no central bank. You got to have free taxes. You got to have free trade, low taxes, and you got to follow the rule book. But somehow we don't follow it. And then we're all fucked up. And now we're about to go out because the biggest idiots in the world who don't know how to tie their shoes are running the fucking government into the ground. We're in a war with Russia, and we're using Ukraine. Ukraine, you fight for us. We're not going to actually bring soldiers. That'll work in World War II, right? Yeah. Well, England, France, you guys do the fight. We're going to stay in New York and Chicago. You guys fight Hitler. That's it. We'll send over some missiles and tanks. I mean, unbelievable. Hitler, a wallpaper hanger, a murderer, a Nazi National Socialist Party. I don't know why they call it far right wings. The Nazis or socialists are left wingers. And that's what all the left wingers are, socialists and communists. The right wingers are conservatives. So I don't know why the radical right wing are not Nazis. They're not socialists. They are capitalists. I am a right-wing radical because I am far right-wing. I am for free trade and no taxes and no central bank, and everybody's free. That's so call me a radical far right winger. I mean that's not what it is. The Nazis are left wing and freedom people are right wing. 1924, backed by Thule Society. He's a racist. He's a socialist. He's an autocracy. 30% unemployment. Jews are the scapegoat. Oh, it's the Jews' fault. The Jews' fault. 1938, Hitler takes over Austria, Czechoslovakia, then divides France. Largest army did zero. Poland with Russia. Britain, the largest navy, did zero. And this starts World War II. So it's Hitler taking Austria, Czechoslovakia, and then they divide Poland with Russia, are what starts World War II. And France and Britain just stood there. All they had to do was just show up, right? That's all they had to do. If France just takes some men and walks inside of Germany and says, no, no, no. Germany didn't have an army. I mean, they were supposed to not have anything. So as they're building tanks and planes and they're getting all the men ready. I don't know where they're getting all their men from. I think they took some from Austria, who were all the German-speaking parts of the country were where he got a lot of his army. And the problem is, if you don't stand up to the bully wins. And nobody stood up to Hitler until it was too late. And Germany invades Russia. U.S. gets into the war. War's over May 1945. So Germany, why did Germany invade Russia? But they did it so stupidly. He sends in 4 million men and he goes to the north to get, there's the waterway up north. He goes to Moscow and then he goes down to the oil wells. Maybe you should have went one at a time. Maybe you should have went to Moscow, take the capital, then send some troops up to the water, I guess, and then go get the oil wells. And they were all burnt anyway, so he wasn't going to get anything. He was after the oil wells in Egypt and Saudi Arabia, like when you see the desert fox and Valkyrie and they're in the desert. That's what they're doing. They're trying to get oil because Germany didn't have any natural resources. I was watching Narvik, which is on Netflix, and they're in, I think, the Netherlands trying to get the iron ore out because they need that to make steel and ships and tanks. And the Netherlands didn't let him do it. But all he had to do to win Russia is just go after Moscow. Just take the thing, go to Moscow, take Moscow, and go in like the end of March when it's pretty warm out, because he thought he'd take Russia in 2 weeks, like he did France. And this is his mistake. And so he goes in the end of June and he thinks, oh, yeah, by July we'll be all done. Yeah, it's only Russia. The other key thing was Japan was threatening to invade Russia, and Russia, there was some peace treaty there, and they had a lot of troops on the other side of Russia in case Japan invaded. So once Japan said, we're not going to invade, all those troops came back. That's why Germany lost. Those troops don't come back, they're dead. So Germany, they thought they could blitzkrieg, but Russia's so big you can't blitzkrieg it. I think they should have just went after Moscow. And then, are the oil wells even there? I mean, are they still available? Maybe you send a couple of troops to see if they are. Stalingrad was just the stupidest thing you could have done. Now you're in a small city, and you're trying to fight soldiers and buildings. Well, just blow up the buildings. You got tanks. I don't know what they're fucking around with that for. That was a huge mistake. But just go after Moscow. Then I don't know what you were going north to get to the water. What were you trying to do? Get a coast? You couldn't do it in another city. You had Norway. So what are you fucking around with? So I would have went after Moscow. They easily win it in 2 months, and Russia has no troops, and that's all they needed to do instead of monkeying around in Stalingrad, which is what cost them the war because they lose so many troops. And then Russia now gets their troops going. Russia would have been out of the game. You'd have invaded Moscow, you would have won, and that would have been the end of Russia, and we'd all be speaking German now. And by the way, there's about, I think, 30 or 40 million Germans in the U.S. How scary is that? So all the Germans fled and came here, and, you just wonder about that. Now, I mean, there's like 40 million Germans here. Okay, so the U.S., the war is over, May 1945. We blow up Japan. We get back to free trade and sound economic policy. What the fuck are we get back? Why did we leave it? Why do we keep leaving it? Why is there a central bank when there never should have been? It's not in the Constitution. 1945, Bretton Woods, form of the gold standard, 2 arguments. Keynes wants a worldwide currency. U.S. wants a gold standard. Again, Keynes getting in the fucking way. And we're listening to Keynes like he knows what he's talking about with all these MMT guys. That's why I roll my eyes, because we know Austrian is the best way. We go to free trade and gold and everything's fine. That's Austrian economics. It works every single time. But the Keynes people and the MMT and the communists and the socialists want the handouts, so they go back to money so they can print it and steal it. Unbelievable. 1947, the General Agreement for Trade and Tariffs, GATT. The U.S. leads, this is free trade. So you have the gold standard with Bretton Woods, and then you have GATT, General Agreement of Trade and Tariffs, free trade, 1947. How did the various economies fare with GATT and Bretton Woods? Leaders, common denominator, old men kept their distance. Japan, MacArthur, our General MacArthur, great leader, military genius. They need a head of society, a monarchy. England, Spain, France need a king. MacArthur wrote the Japanese Constitution. I bet nobody knew that. 2 problems. Farmers received a lot of political power in Japan. No armed forces in Japan. Less taxes with no military budget. R&D goes into consumer goods, and that's why Japan started making cars, Toyota, and computers and TVs and all that stuff because they didn't have a military to worry about. High food prices and high real estate, unfortunately, in Japan. So the farmers received the power and they made a lot of food. A lot of the older leaders came into power. So you got rid of all the warmongers. Mussolini's out, Hitler's out, all these idiots, Churchill's out, and they bring in more financial people. 1950, Truman's the president. We go into the Korean War because we haven't had a war in 5 years. We need a war. Policy of containment, contain communism. That's your selling point, communism. He bomb ends the Korean War, 1952, Eisenhower. I never knew anything about the Korean War. I wasn't born then. MacArthur, 1950 to 52, in Japan, women can vote. Okay, who cares? Japan, Shigeru, first elected prime minister, head of the government, replaces MacArthur, who is our general, so he can't really run the Japanese. He's not Japanese, right? 30th strongest economy. He makes Japan a growth company. This is Shigeru. A lot of reinvestment in R&D, favors saving. First $10,000 tax-free, savings rate goes up, interest rate goes down. Second strongest economy in the world, low standard of living. Beautiful. That's exactly what you're trying to get to. Europe after World War II. 1947, Italy, the leader, De Gasperi, opposes Mussolini. Pope Pius XI saves the Gasperi. The Gasperi spends the war in the Vatican, designs the reconstruction of Italy. Pope Pius XII saved the Jews. He wants a Christian democratic government. Italy, one of the strongest allies of the US and NATO due to democratic government, puts in a market economy. Oh, here we go, free market. And Italy is strong again. 1948, West Germany. So now in 1945, there's East Germany and West Germany now. West Germany is free, US and England. East Germany is Russian and communist. So we all know what happens to East Germany, turns into Russia. West Germany turns very profitable. Oh, look what West Germany does. They bring in Yard, Austrian economist, and who is the leader. Free trade lowers German trade barriers, puts the mark on gold. Unfucking believable. Free markets, privatization, private industries. Volkswagen lowers taxes, and they are booming. I mean, it's such a simple playbook. I don't understand why they get off of it. I don't understand why they let these people take them off of it. German economic miracle, second or third largest economy power by the 1980s. Mercedes, Volkswagen, BMW, here it is. Again, it's not a miracle. It's simple. Follow those 5 things and you will be super strong. Why do we get off of them? It works every fucking time since the Roman Empire. It works. And yet we got to get off of them. We got to put in a central bank and we got to raise taxes, raise tariffs, and we got to get off the gold standard. Unbelievable. Look where we're at now without the gold standard. Look where the whole world's gonna be crushed, except for BRICS, who goes back to the gold standard, and Zimbabwe. They'll be the only 2 players that'll have a vibrant economy. So I suggest we move to either Zimbabwe or a BRICS country of our choice. 1955, France. De Gaulle's the leader. Plan like Germany. France's economy improves dramatically. Well, we all know what they did. 1945, Bevin, the Labor Party, went opposite way of the socialist of Erhard Germany. Britain economy, 2 problems, class, society, and labor problem, went into the tank until 1980. So Britain goes to a Labor Party, went socialist. Okay. They didn't go the way of France and Germany. They went socialist and they failed until 1980 when Thatcher comes in and they go Austrian. 1948, NATO, Europe arms against communism. What the fuck are they still doing there? There's no communism to worry about, except for the US. Truman, containment. France, Britain, England, Germany, US, and Italy. It's our policy is nuke 'em. All right, way to go, guys. 1953, the EEC Foundation, France, Germany, Italy, become like the US, single currency, free trade. The trade agreement, European Economic Community, Europe booms. 1965, population decreases due to socialistic programs, Social Security. Economic. So Europe booms when because of the free trade agreement. So it seems like free trade and gold always and low taxes always make everything better. The American economic policy, Harry Truman, policy containment, communism, 1945 to 1953. So I assume he's trying to contain communism. He supports free trade, GATT, lowered tariffs, tried to lower the national debt. Eisenhower, 1953 to 1961, Republican, middle class income increases, free trade, poverty fell, peace and prosperity, 1953 and 1954. Oh, how don't we wish we were living then? No war and gold standard. Recession due to Bretton Woods, he ended the Korean War. Kennedy, 61 to 63, suggested entitlement first, got us involved in Vietnam. Canadian auto parts, free trade equipment for free trade GATT supported, lower tax rates, new frontier. But he got killed for coming out with a new currency that was not Federal Reserve, but a government currency or some bank. So they didn't like him and they killed him. South Vietnam, Diem, president of Vietnam, American change, 1967, 1968. No drugs or crime before, and then drugs and crime come in 67, 68. All the riots in Detroit and these other cities, everything changed, very socialist. 1963 to 69, here comes LBJ. He makes FDR look like a Boy Scout. Worst president, corrupt, a liar. The Tonkin incident took us into Vietnam to bolster regime after Diem was killed. So Diem, I don't know, he was the leader of Vietnam, but I don't know what he was. I guess he was not a communist. Anyway, the worst president ever, LBJ. Johnson was a free trader, supported GATT, linked entitlement pro. But he does want the entitlements. Inflation to pay for the war. Here we fucking go again. 1967, 1968. Let's print a bunch of dollars and fuck the country. U.S. demoralized by the LBJ saying, we weren't trying to win the war. This started the drug program and crime. So you go to war not to win it. It's like playing football. Well, we're not trying to win. We're not going to keep score. What an idiot. Then we get to Nixon, 1969, 1974. Got elected by ending the war in Vietnam. Had to win the war. Extends the entitlement programs. That's all the free bullshit. Regulations. Paid for the war by inflation. And then because of the gold standard, he has to go off of gold because you got to print money the inflation's only by printing money. So to pay for the war, you inflate, and then therefore you have more dollars than gold, which doesn't work. The gold standard is I have $1 billion in gold. I can only print $1 billion. Then I can go to the bank and get the gold. But if I have $1 billion in gold and $10 billion in dollars, and people want to cash it in, that's what COMEX is going through now. Everybody's coming to take it. And you're fucked because you don't have the inventory to pay everybody out. That's why COMEX is blowing up right now. He puts in wage and price controls, a real moron. Lowered tariffs. Okay, that's good. Watergate, 1973. 1973, he ended the war in Vietnam. 74, Watergate, Congress. He's like LBJ, a real son of a bitch, liar, criminal. Which goes to my point. You're putting people in to be the president that have no business running the country. This system does not work. It might have worked in 1776 with George Washington and Thomas Jefferson and Ben Franklin and these guys. It doesn't work now. You get FDR, you get LBJ, you get Nixon, you get Clinton, you get Obama, you get the Bush boys. You get a bunch of fucking idiots and they're trying to run the country. And what do? Well, I'm a crook, so I'm going to take us off the gold standard so I can print money and do all these handouts to buy votes and get lobbyists to give me money. How many houses does Biden have? He makes $50,000 a year for 40 years. Why is he in government for 40 years? What is that? You serve one term, you're out, buddy. That's it. You should not be allowed to be in the government for more than one term, because then you don't need the lobbyists, and then you don't buy votes because you're only going to run once. So you got 4 or 5 years, do the best you can, and then you're out and we'll bring in somebody else. God knows we got enough people, but it's so corrupt now. You got these people, Donna Pelosi, how long? She's been in there, 60 years? She's been in government. And Biden, 50 years. I mean, this is insane. This is how you get corruption. Then in 1974 to 77, you have Gerald Ford. He ends inflation, reduces the interest rates. He realizes he has to pay for the entitlement programs. Just realized it then, huh? Stagflation, high inflation and high unemployment. But this is Ford, borrowed money to pay for the entitlements. This is the true definition of stagflation, not what these idiots tell you. High inflation, so you're printing money, which causes high unemployment because things cost more. So how many Coca-Colas can you sell if the price is up? A lot less, or Nikes or Canadian clubs or Mahomes cards. So you lay off people because you can't afford them, because you're not getting the sales because of the inflation, making the money worth less. And so, but the goods cost more. So you're buying less, you have to lay off. So that's the real Austrian economics definition of stagflation: high inflation and high unemployment. And that's going to happen every time. Once you have inflation, you always have high unemployment. They can play with the data and say, oh, it's 3%. They're full of shit, because you're going to have less shoppers and less income, and therefore you can't afford. Your budget has to go down by, you got to have less people working for you because you can't afford to keep the people. So unemployment has to go up. Jimmy Carter, 1977, 1981. He inflates, prints money, another idiot. Free trader, lowers tariffs, so some good points. He deregulates the economy and borrows to, I don't know, to pay. Volcker, central banker, slows down inflation, but he causes a recession. So when you raise rates to 20%, money goes back to the bank. They must burn it, but you slow the economy because interest rates are so high that everything, the cost goes way up. So you have less money. So I'm going to save. So the theory is, I got 100 grand, but you're making 20% if I put my money in the bank. Okay, that's a good deal. I'll put my money in the bank and get 20%, which means I'm not spending it. You either save your money or you spend your money. You're saving for a rainy day, or you're going to spend. So if I save it, I'm not spending it, which slows the economy. The economy works best when you're doing both. Reagan, 1981 to 89. There we go. This is the guy we like. Supply side economics, tax cuts, gold standard, lowers interest rates, deregulation, balance the budget. How about that? And he was an actor. He was probably the best president we've had, maybe since Kennedy. The guys in the 50s, the guy in the 1920s. We've not had, I mean, our best presidents were Washington, Jefferson, Lincoln. And that's it. I mean, it's pretty sad. We have like 5 good presidents in 250 years. He pays for entitlements by economic growth. What a thinker. So instead of inflating the money or raising this or raising that, he lowers taxes so the economy grows, and that's how he pays for the entitlement. However, he should have got rid of the entitlements. But we're fucked now because you can't get rid of them and they're all going to explode. Congress didn't balance the budget, wouldn't allow budget cuts. Reagan wanted to cut energy department and education department. Congress wouldn't let them. 1986 inflation, and that's why you had a 1987 stock market crash. Funny how inflation, stock market crash, 1920s, 2000, 1987, 2008, and 2024, there's going to be one. Unbelievable. All right, Bush, 1989 to 1993. Fires all the Reagan people. Now, Bush was his VP, so this is really strange. More regulation, borrows to pay for entitlement, increases taxes. So here comes another idiot in it. Read my lips, no new taxes, and he increases taxes. The fall of communism. This happened during Reagan's era, and only Reagan could have done it. The election of John Paul II as Pope, he's Polish. Cardinal Wyszynski lays basis for solidarity, the key to kill communism. This solidifies the Polish to see their one, they can fight communism. It's powerless against them. Two, I don't know where two is. Three, internal problems, economic. Four, technology revolution, computer chip, information, TV to Russia so Russia can see what's happening, make propaganda false. So Russia's telling all these lies about communism. Israelis have better technology than Russia. The election of Reagan, Afghan war, the war of liberation, Stinger missiles shoot down helicopters. We have technology advantage and an economic advantage. Star Wars works economically. The agreement between the Vatican and Reagan basically ends communism. And then we go to activity-based costing. So that's your lesson for today. Fascinating the way we want to get better. We go on the gold standard, free trade, low taxes. And then for some reason we raise taxes. We get off the gold standard. We get off of free trade. We put on tariffs. Like, how stupid are these people? Let's raise prices and wonder what happens. Unbelievable. So anyway, that's your economics class for today. Let's go back to baseball. I figure it was a good time. It's Memorial Day. All right, NBA, Indy plus 7.5, 10 units. Toronto over 9, 5 units. Kansas City, 5 units. Milwaukee, no units. Washington, under 8.5, 5 units. St. Louis, under 9.5. Colorado, over 11. Philly, over 8, 5 units. San Diego, 5 units. And Houston, no units. Those are your baseball and basketball for today. Football, we're getting close. We're going into June. I should be able to buy my college football. I don't need a pro football one. This is last year, so I should be able to get it soon. It should be out in June. Mostly interested in all the transfers. Who's each quarterback and who's the coach and the old offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators. They're more important than the coaches now. I don't know who's the coach, but he's got this offensive coordinator and this defensive coordinator, sort of like Kansas City. They got Spagnuolo. Detroit has whoever their coach is, their offensive coordinator. So that's basically what you have. So again, why did I go that heavily in economics today? So you can learn when we're on the gold standard, which was BRICS going to do, everything's okay. You need sound money. You need free trade. That's what BRICS is going to do. Free trade and gold standard. So how do you think it's going to do? Probably just fucking fine. Right? They're not stupid either. They're reading my notes. How is the U.S. going to do with not sound money, high inflation, high taxes? I don't know if we have free trade or not. And I had a lot of government interference, and we don't use our laws. How do you think we're going to do? So I'm like, let me get the fuck out of here and let me go to a BRICS country because I know they're going to grow and they'll be free, and I know we won't. I mean, it's very simple. So anyway, that's kind of what we're at right now. So we can see everywhere they went to it, it was successful. That's why I push Austrian economics and the Keynesians. It never works. It created this 15-year depression from 1930 to 1945 was all because of Keynes. And yet everybody wants to use MMT or Keynesian economics. What are the MMTs saying? You can print as much money as you want. It doesn't matter. Bullshit. You can't. You print the inflation, you always go down. So this is kind of what I wanted to get out of it to show you every time. And you probably knew it because that's what I teach, but that's the whole point. All right, I'm going to let you go. I got my ribs to cook a little bit later. It's kind of cloudy out. I might go to the lake just to relax. Hopefully, I apparently I'm not going to hear from Daria today. I have heard from Jenna, so I just am stumped by Daria. It's now last seen at 2:30. I started class at 1:30, so she got on at 1:27. I started at 1:24. It's 2:30, which is 9:30. I don't know if she's home. I'm not getting any information, and I don't understand is why. It's extremely frustrating. So I really don't get it. I didn't text her much today. Really just my picture, and that's it. So I don't know what to do with her. But I mean, she was just on at 2:30 and no comment. So I haven't heard from her. I heard from her Wednesday. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. It's the same story that I'm getting real tired of. And then when I finally hear from her, it's, oh, I was working. And you're just scratching your head going, okay, you were working, but why didn't you? I'm on here. If I get a text from her now, I'm responding to her. Excuse me, I got her. That's why when I do get a text from her on here, I take it. But where is she? What you know? Is she on drugs? She supposedly got off of drinking. She smokes, but that doesn't do anything. I don't know. I don't understand it. She gets off of work. What does she just go home, grabs something to eat, and goes to sleep, and doesn't think about maybe I should text Howard? I don't know. I really don't. I don't. It frustrates me. She knows it frustrates me. She always says, "Oh, I'm sorry, but it was this and that, and I didn't want to talk to you on a bad mood, or I was working and I had a problem at work." And like, dude, what the fuck? I mean, Jesus. I don't know. She's happy with me. She loves me. We're going on vacation. As soon as her mom can watch the daughter, and it's just frustrating as hell. Me and Jen have been on 5, 6 vacations. So she gets me. So she texts me every day. She's happy to text me. And she does know about Daria, so she is quite worried, which is good. I mean, this is why you're stoic and you have 2 girlfriends. This is exactly what I was warning you about. Daria is playing this game. If she was my only girlfriend and I didn't have Jenna, what would I do? I'd be, oh shit, I'm all alone, and you get depressed. In this case, I just talked to Jenna and and focus on her. But it's almost like when Daria talks to me, I'll listen. But I'm not going to try to text her every day. I doubt she reads it all, and there's no point because it makes me more antsy. If I just kind of forget her, like with Irina, I don't talk to her that much. I'm expecting Daria every day, and when I don't get it, I get disappointed. So if I don't text her every day, I won't get disappointed. It's the disappointment that's bothering me. And with Jenna, I get every day. So again, you hear this. Again, it's hard. It's part of being stoic, trying to understand what the fuck's going on. So it's very difficult. Anyway, have a good night. I share this with you so you understand stoic. You understand women a little bit more. If you're in this situation, which I'm sure everybody gets in it, the normal reaction is, oh, she's not interested or she's with somebody else. I don't think that's what's happening here. She's too reliant on me. I don't think that's what she's doing. That's the problem. My gut feeling says that's not what she's doing. I don't think there's anybody else. I just think she's got her daughter to take care of. She goes to work 12 hours a day. She gets home. She's tired. And then, but why she doesn't wake up and text me, or when she gets home or on her lunch, this part I can't answer. When I meet her, I'm going to definitely ask those questions to her, which I do now. I says, can you please text me? And then here it goes again. She doesn't text me. And you just, as Bobby would say, shake my head. I don't understand it. So really that's the problem. Just don't understand. You would think you love me, I'm your guy, you would text me like Jenna does. So that's the part I don't get from Daria. I don't know. I'm sure she'll need money. Rent's coming up or food. And at that point, she'll text me like everything's fine. And, and I'm going to I don't know. I don't think I have money for rent for you because you're fucking around with me going 5 days without texting me. Now, this is new. She used to text me every day for a long time. That's what's so confusing here. But I don't know. There's nothing I can do. All right. Have a good Memorial Day. Again, I'll go through the baseball one more time. Toronto over 9, 5 units. KC, 5 units. Washington under 8.5, 5 units. Philadelphia over 8, 5 units. San Diego, 5 units. And the basketball game, Indy plus 7.5. That's my 10-unit play tonight. So we will see. Otherwise, I will see you tomorrow. What's tomorrow? Tuesday. I'm waiting. The guy gets back on the 3rd. The hiring manager. So I got to wait for that interview. Although I think it's a go, but we got to just go through his interview, which I'm sure will be nothing. If the VP and the CFO say we like Howard, what are you going to do? And I'm not gonna. I'd have to be like, oh, I'm gonna date Daria and go to Russia and live there, and oh, do you own gold? I mean, I'd have to be that stupid in the interview. That's something you do later, but not in the interview. You just stick to I can do budgets and forecasts. I did it at Mercedes. Thank you very much. And I think he knows that. So anyway, that's the bottom line. So go enjoy. Watch your baskets, have your barbecue, and I'm gonna make ribs in the stove, but that's okay. All right, everybody. www.teaserking.com. Not much to report in football yet. We'll get more once preseason. Probably more July, August. College. Once I get the magazine, we'll start going through college. I'll probably look for that next week. And that's about it. All right, everybody. Have a nice day. www.teaserking.com. Take care.